into mourning. They sink into financial struggles on account of accidents that are avoidable. When you are intoxicated, you have what? Please, let us not find ourselves on the wheels so that we avoid this unnecessary loss of lives and carnage on our roads.
UDA leaders led by Secretary General Hassan Omar and National Treasurer Jafet Nyakundi and Nyandarua Women Representative Faith Gitau have reaffirmed their commitment to the Kenya Kwanza government. Speaking during a UDA sensitization exercise set to begin next year in Kipipiri constituency, Nyandarua County, the leaders warned residents against politicians inciting against the current regime, noting that President Ruto's administration has delivered tangible results while the opposition offer only empty rhetorics and propaganda for their own selfish gains. The leaders also welcomed defectors from other parties, calling for more like-minded individuals to join and support the bottom-up agenda.
Na hata naonea wale wengine hapa wanasema ati wana compete na His Excellency William Samuel Ruto. Na waangalia hivi hata maneno yao hawajui wanatoka wapi, hata wanaenda wapi. Sisi tunasema William is competing with William.
Yeye amekoroga yeye akaambia yeye weka kando, amesukuma yeye nje. Sasa huyo Matiang'i wetu amewachwa hivi. Mimi nataka kuambia pia Matiang'i, wewe usikubali kukorogwa. Kuja katika chama cha UDA tufanye kazi pamoja na Mheshimiwa Rais na watu wote wa Jamhuri ya Kenya.
Never make the mistake of exiting government just because somebody told you to do so. Tumia fikra yako kama Wishungu alivyosema, hakuna mtu amekubebea akili yako, wewe beba akili yako ufanye what is right. Na mimi nawaomba sana tushirikiane. Sisi watu wa Mombasa na watu wa Pwani hatutoki tena katika serikali ngo.
All members of parliament allied to the Kenya Kwanza administration have defended President William Ruto's far-to-world narrative, saying economic transformation agenda remains firmly on course and will not be derailed. Led by Mola MP and UDA National Organizing Secretary Vincent Kawaya, the legislators say the president's vision to grow the economy is anchored on key development projects, among them the affordable housing program launched in Mukuru yesterday. Speaking during an economic forum in Nairobi, the MPs criticized leaders who have threatened to scrap the housing project if they take power, arguing that such remarks undermine public investment and taxpayers' money. They also maintain that the cooperation under the broad-based arrangement will remain intact up to the next general election, that is in the year 2027.
The discussion about taking Kenya to be a first world country is real. Kuna watu ambao wanasema iwezekani, na tutakubali kwa sababu fikira yao ni kidogo namna hiyo. Tutawakubalia kwa sababu they believe it cannot happen. But nataka niwaambie kwamba kuna wengine ambao wanajua inawezekana, kwa sababu some of us are action based. We believe in making things happen. Kwa hivyo wewe ukisema Kenya haiwezi kuwa first world, can you kindly speak for yourself? Wengi wetu hapa, na especially nyinyi jamii ya Wakamba, si mumeona sisi tumekuwa beneficiaries wengi sana wa manyumba ya Mukuru kwa jenga. Sasa hawa ambao wanapingana na William Ruto, nimesikia wengine wanasema watakuja kusimamisha huu mradi wa housing. Hiyo si ni kukosa akili? Kwa sababu nani ajui mtu ambaye ako Kibera anataka kukaa mahali ambapo kuna dignity. Jambo la tatu ambayo ni ya muhimu nyinyi niwaambie ni kwamba broad-based government inaendelea kupata umaarufu mwingi sana. Umeona kwa miezi 6 ambayo imepita, broad-based government imeweza kupata umaarufu kutoka 22% to the current 44%.
With just 3 years since President William Ruto's Kenya Kwanza administration took office, government spokesperson Isaac Mwaura has faulted individuals who have been criticizing the government development record, describing them as enemies of progress. Speaking in Nairobi while presenting the government of Kenya's 2025 scorecard, Mwaura said the country has achieved significant strides across all sectors of the economy. He highlighted particularly the affordable housing project, noting that more than 2 million Kenyans have been employed employed through the initiative. Moura also pointed out that the cost of living index has dropped from 9.7 to 4.6%, attributing the improvement to the government partnership with other nations to boost economic growth.
Imekuwako hapa ya miaka 27 ambayo tunaita Kenya Vision 2030, ruwaza mwaka 2030. Hii ruwaza ilikuwa inaangazia kwamba tutoke katika nchi ambayo ni ya chini sana mpaka nchi ya kiasi cha wastani, from least developed country to a middle income country. Na ukiangalia katika ruwaza hiyo tulikuwa tunasema kwamba tutakuza uchumi wetu kwa 10%. Tukiweza kukuza uchumi wetu kwa 10%, basi tutaweza kusonga mbele. Lakini fauka ya mwaka 2007 ambao uchumi wetu ulikuwa kwa 7.3, tumekuwa tukikua kwa kiasi cha 5%. Kwa ukijumuisha. Sasa inamaanisha nini? Tumeweza kusonga au tujaweza kusonga? Tumeweza kusonga, ndivyo. Tumetoka katika nchi ambayo haijaendelea mpaka nchi ambayo inaitwa low middle income economy. Yaani ambayo ni nchi ambayo imekuwa kwa wastani lakini katika kiwango cha chini. Kumaanisha inawezekana. Tumebakisha miaka 5. Hali ya Kenya imeweza kuimarika. Na ndio tunasema tukifanya vile ambavyo tumekuwa na hii manifesto yetu ya bottom up. Sasa tuingie na zile agenda 3-4 ambazo rais mwenyewe amesema kwamba tuhakikishe kwamba tunaweza kujilisha, ndiposa tusikue tunaagizia zaidi ya chakula ambacho ni cha bilioni 500, tuwe na nishati ya kutosha ambayo ni tuwe na megawati zaidi ya 10,000, na tuhakikishe kwamba tuna miundo mbinu ya kutajika, yale mabawa 50, kilomita 2,500 ambazo ni dual carriageway. Tuhakikishe kwamba pia tuko na barabara nyingine zaidi ya 28,000, na pia tuwe na mabawa madogo mengine 1,000. Tuzalishe chakula, tushibe, tuwe na afya njema, tusomeshe watoto wetu, tuwe na hali ambayo inasaidika.
The Controller of Budget, Margaret Nyakango, has said that the rushed rollout of the government electronic procurement system has hampered the utilization of development funds and raised concerns over delays by many counties in passing their budgets. Nyakango stated that the introduction of the electronic government procurement system did not follow the law, noting that the system being implemented by the National Treasury has significantly hindered the absorption of development funds. At the same time, she said the system has been difficult to use due to what she described as poor initial implementation and flawed setup at the outset.
It's not been easy because the initial introduction of the system was not done very well, so it has prevented especially development expenditure to a large extent.
Murang'a is very proud of her tenure. She has never, you'd imagine there's so many counties and even the national government's offices requiring her authorization of expenditure, and she does it timely.
Trans Nzoia County Governor George Natembeya has criticized the National Treasury for delaying fund releases to counties, saying the move undermines devolution and slows down development projects. Speaking during the inauguration of the County Public Service Board and the Cabinet Secretary for Roads and Public Works, Natembeya urged the national government to ensure timely disbursement of funds to protect devolution and accelerate project implementation.
Songo na ende slow. Awache kwanza vitengo ya usalama ifanye uchunguzi, ipene report. Asianze kutetea driver na uchunguzi bado inaendelea. Sisi bado tunaomboleza, tumepoteza ndugu yetu, na yeye anasema kwamba preemptive information ya kwamba driver atamprotect. That is not good. We want to know what happened between the circumstances surrounding Jirongo's death in Naivasha.
Labor union officials have warned politicians against making unverified claims regarding the death of Cyrus Jirongo, who died following a road accident along the Naivasha-Nairobi highway at Karai area. Speaking after visiting the late leader's family, the officials, led by Security Sector Workers Union Secretary General Isaac Andabwa, called on politicians to halt debates and respect the ongoing investigations. They warned that premature statements from leaders could mislead the public and called on authorities to expedite the probe to establish the true cause of the accident.
Songo na aende slow. Awache kwanza vitengo ya usalama ifanye uchunguzi, ipeane report. Asianze kutetea driver na uchunguzi bado inaendelea. Sisi bado tunaomboleza, tumepoteza ndugu yetu na yeye anasema ya kwamba preemptive information ya kwamba huyu driver atamprotect. That is not good. We want to know what happened between the circumstances surrounding Jirongo's death in Naivasha.
And may God comfort the family of the late ex-MP and former cabinet secretary. Moving on to matters health is that the health sector is facing a looming crisis as clinical officers across the country have threatened to down their tools effective from Tuesday, 23rd of December this year, if a collective bargaining agreement is not signed and implemented, led by the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers Secretary General George Gibore. The officers say they issued a 21-day notice to Health Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale, but no action has been taken so far. They maintain the strike aims to pressure the government to sign the previously agreed CBA. KUSO officials add that previous agreements and court orders have not been honored, leaving them with no option but to strike. However, they insist they are willing to return to work if the government engages in a dialogue and addresses their key issues before the strike officially commences.
That we gave 21 days with the expectation that if there is goodwill from the employer, they will call us, we sit down, sign the CBA with the Minister of Health, and also finalize the CBA with the Council of Governors, or even agree otherwise by virtue of on how to address our grievances. Because that has not happened, and we now have less than 7 days remaining. We must make it very clear that on 23rd at night, Mugomo itaanza. We will start a national strike that will affect all county government hospital and all national referral hospitals.
Ni muhimu kusema kuwa Kitui County iko na clinical officers karibu 200, lakini wenye walikuwa na mambo ambayo walikuwa nataka kushughulikiwa, Kitui County imeshughulikia around 130 na wengine yamebaki yakitaka kushughulikiwa. Ndiposa leo tumetengeneza hiyo komiti ndogo kushughulikia mambo hayo, na ni matamanio yetu na matarajio yetu kuwa mambo haya yatashughulikiwa, ndio kuzuia maafisa wa kaunti ya Kitui, maafisa kliniki wa Kitui County ya Kitui kwenda katika mgomo kwa muda.
Switching gears to matters education is that Education Cabinet Secretary, that is Julius Migoso Gamba, has reaffirmed the government commitment to strengthening higher education, improving staff welfare, and aligning learning outcomes with Kenya's digital transformation agenda. Addressing a congregation at the 58th graduation ceremony of Kenyatta University, the CS confirmed that the government has paid the first installment of the collective bargaining agreement, that is CBA, for university lecturers, noting that this milestone underscores the administration's resolve to honor agreements and promote industrial harmony in public universities. He further assured academic staff and stakeholders that the government is fully committed to clearing the next tranche of the CBA through the 2026 national budget.
Even as we celebrate this significant milestone, we have to acknowledge the challenging period that the university subsector has endured in the recent past, which would actually have delayed celebration had it not been amicably resolved. The recent industrial action by our dedicated staff, though unfortunate in its timing and consequences, highlighted a very legitimate concern: the timely negotiation and proper implementation of the signed collective bargaining agreements. Let me be clear: the government is fully committed to industrial harmony because university staff are the engine of our education, and their welfare dictates the quality of education that we deliver as a country. We have listened, we have engaged, and we have now established a clear path forward. The outstanding arrears from the 2017-2021 collective bargaining agreements are now being settled as agreed. The first installment of the 7.7 billion of 3.8, which was due to be settled by the 21st of December 2025, has already been paid. The balance of the 3.8 would be paid as scheduled in the financial year 2026-2027. We are resolute in our commitments to fast-track the negotiation and conclusion of the 2025-2029 collective bargaining.
On a rather different note is that religious leaders from the North Rift have warned that rising banditry, killings, livestock theft and political incitement along the borders of Turkana, West Pokot and Tiaty are threatening peace and livelihoods. Speaking in Kapenguria, the leaders said violence in the Takwel Belt and Kerio Valley has resulted in loss of lives, property destruction and mistrust among communities. They further called on the national government to strengthen security coordination and use legal mechanism to resolve long-standing boundary disputes and resource-based conflicts.
Leaders of the North Rift have a responsibility of bringing about peace and cohesion in the region, not just in West Pokot and Turkana counties, but in Kenya at large. We call on the government to enhance and strengthen security coordination along the borders and explore all illegal means of addressing the perennial boundary and resource sharing conflict. We also call upon the national and county government of West Pokot, Turkana County and Baringo to step up service delivery towards improving the livelihood of the people living along the border. We also allowed the effort put in by stakeholders in bringing political leaders and the community together to dialogue. So let us continue to work together to strengthen stakeholders' collaboration through the multi-agency approach and early warning response system for sustainable peace in the region.
I therefore appreciate the community that have voluntarily surrendered illegal arms in the ongoing exercise. We call upon the government to ensure that all the illegal arms are mopped up in a human way across the board to bring development and sustainable peace. As our religious leaders, we laud the leadership of Turkana County for responding to the call to dialogue and call on the West Pokot leadership to move with speed and set on the dialogue table with the Turkana leaders for the sake of people living along the borders to avoid losing more lives and properties. We call on all the residents living along the Turkana, West Pokot and Baringo counties borders to give peace a chance and stop unnecessary bloodshed.
Wakadha ambayo imetuletea shida tangu mwanzo. Kama community mbili tumerudi nyuma kwa sababu ya vita. Watu wanapoteza maisha, watu wanabaki maskini kwa muda mrefu. Tumesanyika kama vitengo tofauti ama NGOs tofauti kutoka Turkana, tuna DRC, tuko na NCCK na zingine kutoka Pokot. Na tumekuja kuona kwamba amani haipatikani tu kwa kukaa chini. Tumeamua kwamba ili tuweze kupata amani tukutane, tuzungumze na ili tuweze kuona kwamba Mungu ametusaidia tuishi kwa amani.
Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki has reiterated that the government is committed to fully strengthening the tourism sector. Speaking during the graduation of 250 Kenya Wildlife Service Rangers at the KWS Training College for Discipline and Law in Manyani, Taita Taveta County, Kindiki noted that the newly graduated rangers will play a crucial role in supporting the industry, which has seen a significant increase in tourist numbers. He was joined by Tourism Cabinet Secretary Rebecca Miano, KWS Director General Professor Erastus Kanga and county leaders led by Governor Andrew Mwadime alongside local members of parliament.
Passau Parade comes at a very strategic moment. Just last week, we celebrated Jamhuri Day that was themed Tourism, Wildlife and Mice, an opportunity to showcase what the government is doing in terms of tourism and wildlife conservation. Your Excellency, these officers will be an addition to the resource that is required to propel the mandate that we have been given as a ministry and our 3 priorities going forward, that is promoting investments in the tourism and conservation sector, capacity building, and aggressive marketing that will reintroduce Kenya to the world.
Serikali imewekeza katika sekta ya utalii na sekta ya kulinda wanyama pori ili kuendeleza sekta yetu ya utalii. Mwaka uliopita idadi ya wageni ambao wametembea Kenya imeongezeka kwa zaidi ya watalii wapya zaidi ya 500,000. Na tunajua kwamba mwaka huu tutapata ongezeko hata zaidi. Mapato kutokana na utalii vile vile yameongezeka. Hii inaonyesha juhudi ambazo maafisa wetu wa KWS wakishirikiana na vikosi vile vingine, vikosi vya usalama, wametusaidia mahali pakubwa katika kulinda wanyama wetu na kuhifadhi usalama wa taifa letu tukufu.
Too, a sad story is that a 26-year-old community health promoter has been charged at the Garissa High Court with the murder of his 17-year-old niece in a case prosecutors say involved sexual violence and strangulation in an alleged attempt to conceal the crime. Shafa Bilal Shaklane was arraigned before Justice John Onyego and charged with murder contrary to Section 203 as read with Section 204 of the Penal Code. The prosecution alleged that the accused strangled the teenager to death before misleading relatives into preparing a body for Islamic burial, falsely claiming she had died after a short illness. 3 individuals who were initially arrested in connection with the incident have since been released and are now listed as prosecution witnesses. Principal Prosecution Counsel Bernard Ward told the court that the Director of Public Prosecutions approved the murder charge after investigation directly linked the accused to the killing. Shaklane pleaded not guilty when the charge was read to him as the court prepares to hear evidence including testimony from a protected child witness. The trial is expected to examine evidence surrounding both the death of the minor and the alleged attempt to conceal the crime. We are hoping that justice will be delivered to the family, and that story brings us to the close of tonight's EBN Weekend Edition. On behalf of the entire EBN News team that made this broadcast possible, thank you for allowing us into your homes and for choosing to spend your evening with us. As we count down to Christmas, let this be a gentle reminder that hope still lives, kindness still has power, and even the smallest act of love can light up a dark moment. Whatever this year has held for you, joy or challenge, making it to this point is a triumph worth honoring. May the days ahead wrap you in peace, fill your heart with gratitude, and bring you to the quiet joy that defines the true spirit of the season. I'm George Kayesi, wishing you a restful night and a blessed weekend ahead. And thank you so much for staying tuned to EBN TV. Goodbye, and may God bless you as we prepare to wrap up this year.